Whether it's chicken, pork, beef, fish, or even vegetables, adobo has always been a common staple in Filipino cuisine, and it's that one dish where everyone will tell you that their lola's adobo is better than yours. Every Filipino gathering you go to is almost guaranteed to have adobo, and for good reason. Tender, braised meat in soy sauce and vinegar, paired with some basic aromatics and eaten with steamed rice, it really doesn't get much better than that, and that's why adobo is without a doubt one of my favorite comfort dishes. Like most of us, we grew up on our mom or Lola's version of adobo. Most times, my mom preferred using chicken simply because it was a more cost-effective way of feeding a big family. Now that I'm the one cooking for a big family, I'm always looking for ways to feed the ones I love good food while sticking to a budget. And that's the beauty of adobo and braising in general. You can take the cheapest cuts of meat and still turn it into a dish most people would pay good money for. So in this video, I'll be sharing with all of you my version of pork adobo. If you're new to this channel, please be sure to subscribe and give this video a like. I'm excited to see this channel grow, and I hope you'll all join me on my new adventure. I'm Teddy Umali, and this is my pork adobo. We'll start off first with our garlic. After separating the cloves from the bulb, just press down firmly on the garlic with your knife, and this will make the skin easier to remove. For my onions, I'm doing a small to medium dice. Don't worry too much about how you cut these, as they'll break down in the braising process and you really won't notice them. Unless you like having large pieces of onions in your end result, then I'd recommend a large dice or even cutting your onions into wedges. Here I just had some leftover green onions that I wanted to use up. These will be used as garnish. So these are the pork shoulder country ribs I picked up at the store. I got all of this for under $6, which was a great deal. Perfect for braising and more than enough to feed everyone at home. Now these did have some small bones in them which I wanted to keep because they do help create more flavor when braising. Also, once the pork becomes tender, the bones will easily separate from the meat. When braising, I prefer my cuts of meat to be a bit larger so that they don't completely fall apart in the cooking process. The size of cut is really up to you. Now I am a firm believer in the saying that fat is flavor. However, this was just a bit too much flavor for me, so I went and trimmed off some of this fat. If you don't want to just discard the fat, you can render it to use in different cooking applications, such as frying or even in pastries. From here, I'm going to get the pork ready for searing by tossing it in canola oil. You can use any light oil of your choice for this. You don't need too much oil, as the pork will render out a good amount of its own fat once we start to sear. Because we'll be braising the pork with soy sauce, there's no need to add any extra salt. In a medium to medium high heat pan, place the pork fat side down so that it starts rendering. Allow the pork to sear for about 1 to 1.5 minutes before turning. Repeat this process until each piece is browned on each side. So now you can see we have some really nice color on our pork. Browning your meats before braising will help create an extra level of flavor in your dishes. You'll also notice a good amount of fat has come out of the pork. We'll go ahead and drain that to get the pan ready to saute our onions. Personally, I like to caramelize my onions first because the sweetness you get from them balances nicely with the acidity from the vinegar. So here I'm just adding a little bit of water and salt just to help the onions break down a little bit faster. When your onions are about 3/4 of the way done, add your garlic and stir occasionally. If you notice your pan's getting a little dry, it's okay to add a little water to help deglaze the pan, remove the fond, and get all that flavor back onto the onions. Once the water reduces, your onions will continue to caramelize, and you can repeat this process as needed. Now I'll add some black pepper and deglaze the pan one more time before adding my brown sugar. The brown sugar is what's going to help my braising liquid thicken once it starts reducing, and it's also going to add another level of sweetness that's going to balance nicely with the vinegar. Once that's done, I'll add all my pork back to the pan on top of the onions. From there, we'll add the soy sauce, vinegar, and some water. Now, I never really measure when I cook because some people like more soy sauce than vinegar and vice versa. So your ratio should just be based off your personal preference. Lastly, add your bay leaves, cover your pan, and bring your adobo up to a medium simmer for about 1.5 to 2 hours. Now that our pork is nice and tender, I'm going to remove it from the pan and bring the braising liquid back up to a low simmer so that it can start reducing. While my braising liquid is reducing, I like to try and skim off as much excess fat from the top as I can. Continue reducing your liquid, and after about 5 minutes, you'll end up with this flavorful, concentrated sauce. From here, we'll add all the pork back to the pan and gently toss everything to coat. Once your adobo is nice and hot, serve it over some freshly steamed rice, and you are good to go. So that's my version of pork adobo. Thank you so much for letting me share this with you. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. I'd really love to know how all of you prepare your adobo, so feel free to let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if there's any dishes you would like to see me try in my next videos. Until then, I'm Teddy Umali. Take care.